A topic that recently came up when Tim and Maggie and I were talking was about manifesting a loved one's death. So, a lot of times when folks get started in any kind of law of attraction or law of assumption, something that can happen either if they have a grief part, like something that happened to them recently, or if a loved one dies while they're kind of learning about this stuff, is this feeling of, well, if everything is a product of my thoughts and my beliefs are what are manifesting into my world, then did I cause this death? I've had other content where I have talked about the fact that you don't actually control everything. There may be something that we just don't understand on how this like kind of control works and how the world works and why what we focus on is what we receive and what we're able to perceive. Um, but that does not mean that we control absolutely everything in the world. It does not mean that if somebody dies that we have this like level of control that we somehow created this or we put this into, happening for whatever kind of reason. If you're a follower of Neville Goddard, he actually talks about the fact that, death is something that we don't have control over and that somebody's time of death cannot be changed by us. Now, from what I've heard, he's, also had maybe some contradicting type of statements, but I have never seen any personally. So if you know of any lectures that he does, please link to them in the comments below or let me know where I can find them and I'll go search on that and do another video. But for me, the things that I've seen is that this is not something that we control. Now, I did read a lecture from Neville where he said that, his nephew had passed and he showed his sister by appearing in the room with her, even though he was many miles away. He showed his sister that our souls are not here. We don't end here. We continue on. There's something, some sort of power, soul, uh, something being within us that is projecting us that continues on after this life. And but he made a comment in that lecture, and I'll try to find it and I'll update the show or like the YouTube description if I find it, because I remember reading this just a couple of months ago. But he made a comment about no, he didn't save his nephew, that he kind of already had it in his mind that, it was too far gone. And so, his purpose was not to attempt to make his nephew healthy. And I'll try to find that, like I said, and link it below. And I think, though, within that, it's like there are things that are going to happen in the world that we're not going to control, and we're not always going to have an understanding. And when we are overcome with grief or we lose somebody who's very dear to us, it can be really hard to let go of this. Like, did I do this? Was there something more that I could do? There's always these like what ifs. My cousin died very tragically back in 2018, and this was actually before I really started learning too much about this. I think at that point I had probably known about The Secret and some manifestation, but not into the level of like the Neville Goddard or this kind of, like reality is created by your own consciousness, like it's a output of your consciousness. And I remember, during his death just being like absolutely devastated. And even with learning this stuff now, I still don't believe that I had any direct correlation to it. The very least that I think I could tie to it is if I have a belief that everyone dies and that everyone's going to go through some sort of death and we're not going to be eternal. That would be the only like quote unquote ownership that I would have within a death, is that kind of belief. But I think we're here to ascend. We're here to learn, um, and we're here to continue on. And we're kind of a soul in like a human body, right? Like not a human body with a soul. And but with that said, like when somebody passes, the grief can be so overwhelming to let, to want them back or to find a reason that this happened. I think it can very quickly become a like, if my consciousness creates reality, then of course I'm the one who did this. And why would I manifest something so terrible? And I've never quite understood why some people are able to pass quietly in their sleep, at a ripe old age, and then we have children that, pass away, or you have people who die in very tragic ways, like my cousin did. And that can be difficult to deal with. But The greatest peace that I have found is knowing that I'm not going to know everything. I'm not going to have all of the answers. And I can give myself a peace by knowing I did not have anything to do with his death. And so I hope if you're struggling with that, that helps. I know there's not really an answer in this, but I don't know that anybody truly has one. I just think we don't have control over that, and we can't control everything that happens around us. One of the things that folks get into, and I did myself, is this attempt to try to control absolutely everything. Like, oh, if I'm the master of my reality and what I focus on is what I'm going to get, there should be never anything else that comes into my world that would be disturbing or upsetting, because I can just control all of it. And you can't. Like, there's beliefs that you have that you're not even aware that you have. Ones that sometimes people are going to cut you off in traffic, one that tragic things are going to happen, ones that say that people are going to pass on and we're not going to be able to hold on to them forever. And it's heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to anybody who's grieving right now, because I know how difficult it can be and I know how frustrating it can be. So I hope this provides some faith. Maggie and Tim are also going to be doing videos on the same subject. So I'll link those below. Definitely go see them. And if you are struggling with grief, I hope that you're able to see some light at the end of the tunnel, and definitely seek professional help if you are struggling to be able to see that light, or you feel like you might be a harm to yourself. Thank you.